The galaxy was quiet. Too quiet. For more than 2 centuries, the Taraxan Empire had ruled the stars without fear. Their warships drifted through the void like metal gods, their flags hanging over thousands of conquered worlds. To them, peace meant control and silence meant obedience. But at the far edge of the galaxy, beyond the reach of Imperial sensors, something was stirring. Small, strange signals had begun to appear in the deep dark, unfamiliar energy spikes, ghost transmissions and coded bursts of light that no one could trace. When the reports reached the Imperial Command Center, most admirals laughed. They said it was nothing but static from dying stars or broken satellites. Humanity, after all, had vanished long ago. The name Earth had become a myth whispered in old stories, nothing more than a ghost from a forgotten age. Yet one man did not laugh. Admiral Varus, the oldest and most respected fleet officer in the Empire, had seen too much of war to ignore strange silence. His instincts told him something was wrong. He stood before the main viewport of his command ship, the vigilant star staring into the black. "Those readings," he murmured to his science officer, "they are not random. Someone or something is moving out there." The young officer hesitated. "But Admiral, the scans show no ships, no life signs. It could be gravitational waves from a collapsed system." Varus shook his head. "No, that pattern is too deliberate. Those are formation signals." "Old ones," the officer frowned. "Formation signals? From where?" Varus did not answer. He knew the answer in his heart but refused to speak it aloud. In the lower systems, traders and miners began telling stories. A shadow moving through the stars. A single massive ship that appeared out of nowhere, crossing light years in seconds. Entire cargo fleets reported losing contact near the outer rim. The Empire dismissed these as lies or pirate attacks, but one thing was certain. The pattern was spreading. On a forgotten moon called Rathos 9, a small outpost picked up a faint message, repeating endlessly in a dead language no one had heard in centuries. The station's commander had to use ancient translation software to decode it. When he did, his blood ran cold. The message was only 3 words long. "We are returning." He sent the report to High Command. It never reached them. The entire station went silent hours later. 3 weeks passed, and the Empire's borders grew restless. Fleets were recalled, patrols increased, but there was no enemy to fight. The darkness beyond the rim stayed empty, or so it seemed. Then one night, every deep space sensor in the northern quadrant lit up. A single massive energy surge appeared at the edge of a nebula known as the Shattered Veil. From the outside, the nebula looked like a storm of dying stars, flashes of violet and orange lightning tearing through clouds of dust. No sane pilot entered it, but that night something came out. The first visuals were captured by an automated probe. It showed a shadow moving within the nebula, a ship larger than any ever recorded. Its hull glowed faintly, not from light but from power. Rows of turrets lined its sides, and its engines pulsed with a deep blue fire. As the image cleared, one symbol became visible on the ship's surface. A circle enclosing a single upward-pointing line, the ancient insignia of the United Terran Fleet. The Empire had believed humanity extinct for 400 years. Yet here it was, alive, armed, and returning. Admiral Varus received the first confirmed transmission. He watched as static cleared from the signal, revealing a calm, human voice speaking in perfect Imperial standard. "To the ruling powers of the galaxy, this is Admiral Reeve of the United Terran Fleet. We have returned from beyond the dark. We come with purpose. We come for balance." The transmission ended there. No threats, no demands, only the promise of return. The Imperial Council went into chaos. Some called it a trick by rebels. Others said it was impossible. Humanity's worlds had been burned long ago. The Emperor himself declared the signal false and ordered the fleet to stand down. But Admiral Varus could not forget the voice. There was something in it, something steady and terrifying. Not hatred, not pride. Just calm certainty, as if this Admiral Reeve knew exactly what would happen next. Days later, a scout ship named Solar Blade was sent to investigate the nebula. It never came back. Its final transmission was filled with static, but a single image was recovered from the black box. A ship moving faster than light, its hull glowing red as if cutting through the fabric of space itself. When Varus saw it, he whispered, "It's not one ship. It's many. His fears were confirmed when the Imperial border defenses near Irixa Prime vanished overnight. No wreckage, no explosions, no warning. Just gone. Hundreds of ships erased as if they never existed. By the time High Command realized the truth, it was already too late. A new message echoed across all frequencies, clear and cold. This galaxy forgot humanity. It will remember now. On hundreds of worlds, people looked to the skies and saw distant flashes of light, massive objects moving faster than thought. Some prayed, some ran, others simply stared in silence, knowing something ancient had awakened. In the dark control room of his flagship, Admiral Varus stood alone before the holographic map of the Empire. Red dots blinked out one by one, system after system falling silent. He whispered, "They are not ghosts. They are home." Outside his viewport, the stars flickered like dying embers, and somewhere beyond them, the human fleet moved closer, silent, unstoppable, and unseen. The Empire had spent centuries erasing the past. Now the past was coming for them. The Taraxan Empire had not seen fear in generations. For hundreds of years they believed no enemy could challenge their fleets. But now the air inside the Imperial War Council felt heavier than ever. The once proud admirals stood around a glowing holographic map, watching red lines vanish from the edges of their territories. The Emperor's voice echoed through the chamber, deep and sharp. "Who dares strike my empire?" he demanded. "Who dares erase my ships without even showing their face?" No one answered. The council chamber, built to hold the voices of warlords and conquerors, fell into an uneasy silence. The screens around them kept flickering with strange data, empty sectors, sudden disappearances, and fragments of encrypted signals repeating one line again and again: "Humanity returns." Admiral Varus, standing at the far end of the table, spoke quietly. "Your Majesty, we are facing something beyond what we understand. The ships we lost near Irixa Prime, they did not explode. They simply ceased to exist." The Emperor turned toward him, eyes filled with cold fury. "Are you suggesting ghosts, Admiral?" "No," Varus replied. "I am suggesting humans." The council erupted in laughter, but it was nervous laughter. The idea of humanity surviving was a joke that no one truly found funny. Humanity had been wiped out 4 centuries ago during the Great Purge. The Empire had erased their planets, burned their cities, and left their worlds to drift lifeless in the void. "Impossible," the Emperor said, but his voice trembled slightly. "The humans are gone." "Gone, yes," Varus said softly, "but not destroyed. They vanished into the dark, and now they return from it." That night, across the Empire, ships were recalled from outer sectors. Massive orbital stations lit up as fleets began forming along the border. The largest mobilization in galactic history had begun. From the icy moon of Varith to the blazing skies of Garonus Prime, engines roared to life. Millions of soldiers prepared for war. Propaganda broadcasts filled the holonet. The Taraxan Empire stands eternal. The so-called human fleet is a lie. No phantom ships can challenge the Emperor's will. But far away among the stars, reality told another story. Scouts sent to investigate human signals kept disappearing. Outposts lost communication seconds before reporting a shadow approaching. Civilian transport lanes near the rim were shut down. Refugees whispered of seeing gigantic ships pass silently through the night, their hulls glowing like molten steel. Even hardened commanders began to doubt their orders. In a remote command bunker on the planet Thales 4, a group of officers gathered around a live feed from deep space. A camera drone had captured something, just for a few seconds before being destroyed. The image showed a fleet emerging from a blue rift in space. The ships were enormous, each one shaped like an arrowhead, armored with sleek dark plating. Blue light shimmered across their hulls like ocean waves. At their center was one massive vessel, a ship so large it made the Taraxan dreadnoughts look like toys. One of the officers whispered, "By the stars. That's human design." The commander of the base leaned closer. "What did you say?" "I studied old archives," the officer said. "That structure, that emblem on the hull, it matches the markings of the United Terran Fleet. They were supposed to be extinct." Before anyone could respond, the transmission cut off. The camera feed went black. A second later, the sensors on Thales 4 went dark too. The planet stopped transmitting entirely. Admiral Varus received the last distress ping. He stared at the coordinates for a long time, then turned to his bridge crew. "They're not testing us anymore," he said. "They're moving closer." His communications officer swallowed hard. "Admiral, what are your orders?" Varys thought for a moment, then answered, "Send word to the Emperor. Tell him the war he ended 400 years ago has found its way home." In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor stood on his balcony overlooking the glowing city of Zirath Prime. Towers reached the clouds, banners waved, and the people below still believed they were safe. The Emperor clenched his fists as he looked at the stars. He had built this empire from fear and obedience. No one dared challenge his rule. But deep down he could feel something changing, something shifting in the void. His advisors approached. "Majesty," one said carefully, "the fleet is ready. Over 200,000 ships await your command." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Good. Let the galaxy see our strength. If the humans have truly returned, then I will erase them again." He turned toward the stars. "Send the Iron Vanguard. Crush them before the myth spreads." The Iron Vanguard was the pride of the Taraxan Empire, a fleet so massive that its engines could be seen from orbit. Thousands of warships jumped into hyperspace, leaving behind glowing trails of blue fire. When they arrived at the coordinates of the human signal, they found nothing, just silence, empty space. Then, one by one, their radar screens began to flicker. Unknown readings appeared all around them. Energy spikes from every direction. A voice came through the static. Calm, human, and unshaken. "This sector is under Terran protection. Withdraw immediately." The fleet commander laughed into his mic. "This is the Empire of Tirax. We bow to no ghosts." Then the stars around them went black. Human ships uncloaked all at once, dozens of them, silent and still, surrounding the Imperial Armada like predators in deep water. A second later, every Imperial ship's power systems failed. Lights dimmed. Engines died. Communications went dead. Only one message played across every channel, spoken in that same calm voice. "We warned you once." The last thing the Imperial commander saw before his ship exploded was a blinding blue flash, like lightning tearing through the void. Back on Zirath Prime, the Emperor watched as the transmission from the Iron Vanguard cut off. The image froze, then turned to static. The room fell silent. Admiral Varys stood beside him. "Majesty," he said slowly, "the Empire has met something it cannot defeat." The Emperor clenched his jaw. "Then we will meet them with everything we have." Varys looked at the stars, whispering under his breath, "Everything will not be enough." The galaxy held its breath. After the destruction of the Iron Vanguard, no one dared to speak of war again. Millions of Imperial citizens gathered around public holoscreens waiting for news. Every channel replayed the same moment, the sudden static that replaced the proud fleet of the Empire. The Taraxan Emperor sat in the grand chamber of the Imperial Citadel, surrounded by trembling advisors. His face, once calm and powerful, now showed cracks of fear. For the first time in his life, he felt powerless. "Majesty," said one of his generals, "we have lost contact with 7 sectors. Communications blacked out. Patrols are gone. Nothing returns." The Emperor's fingers tapped on the metal armrest of his throne. "And what of these? Transmissions?" The general hesitated. "We received one message. It was brief. Visual data attached." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Show it." The lights dimmed. A holographic image flickered to life in the center of the room. At first only static, then a faint glow. A colossal warship appeared through a cloud of cosmic dust. Its surface reflected light like polished obsidian. Lines of blue energy pulsed along its hull, flowing like veins. A voice filled the room, calm, human, deliberate. "To the rulers of the Taraxan Empire, this is Admiral Reeve of the United Terran Fleet. 4 centuries have passed since your ancestors destroyed our world. We survived. We rebuilt. We remember." The chamber went completely silent. Even the Emperor did not move. "You believed humanity was extinct," the voice continued. "You were wrong. We watched as you enslaved worlds, silenced species, and buried your crimes in the void. You called yourselves gods. You forgot who taught you fear." Then the image changed. Behind Admiral Reeve, thousands of human ships stood in formation, stretching into the endless dark, sleek, silent, and armed with unimaginable technology. "We will not conquer," Reeve said. "We will remind." The transmission ended. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then one of the younger officers whispered, "They are real. The humans are real." Across the Empire, panic began to spread. Markets crashed, colonies sealed their ports, and civilians fled from border systems. Rebel groups long crushed under Imperial rule rose again, waving old Earth symbols as their banners. But the Empire still had pride. The Emperor, desperate to show strength, ordered his remaining fleets to prepare for another offensive. "Mobilize every ship we have," he commanded. "Find them and burn them from the stars." Admiral Varys stood beside him. His face was calm, but his eyes were filled with quiet despair. "Majesty," he said, "you cannot fight what you do not understand." The Emperor turned sharply. "You fear them. I respect them," Varys replied. "If those ships came from beyond the rim, their technology is beyond anything we know. They have crossed centuries without us knowing they still lived. That means they have learned patience and power." The Emperor slammed his hand on the console. "Then we will teach them fear again." Hours later, the Crimson Spear Fleet, the Empire's most elite battle group, entered hyperspace. Their destination, the Varnus Expanse, where the Terran signal had last been detected. The fleet arrived in formation. Hundreds of dreadnoughts and cruisers spread across the void, scanning for any sign of movement. For a moment, everything was still. Then the stars flickered. A ripple passed through space like light bending around an invisible object. Then another, and another. "Multiple contacts," shouted a sensor officer. "They're surrounding us." Dozens of human ships decloaked silently. Their hulls were black and smooth, absorbing light. Each ship carried strange symbols etched in glowing silver. They moved without visible engines, gliding like shadows. The Imperial commander activated his comms. "This is Fleet Admiral Carvin of the Tiraxan Empire. Identify yourselves." The reply came instantly in that same calm voice. "Admiral Reeve, United Terran Fleet. You entered Terran-controlled space. Leave now." Carvin laughed coldly. "Terran space? There is no such thing. You are trespassing in Imperial territory." A long pause followed. Then Reeve's voice returned, softer, colder. "We gave you centuries to change. You did not." The stars flashed white. Human ships fired all at once. The Imperial sensors went blind, overwhelmed by radiation bursts and strange wave-like distortions that broke their targeting systems. The first blast tore through the lead dreadnought. It didn't explode. It simply disintegrated atom by atom. The second shot pierced through 3 more ships, melting their armor like wax. In less than 2 minutes, the entire Crimson Spear Fleet was gone. Admiral Varys received the news in silence. He stood before a holoscreen displaying hundreds of lost signals, then looked toward the window of his command room. "They are not destroying us out of hate," he whispered. "They are erasing what we became." His aide stared at him, pale and trembling. "Admiral, what do we do now?" Varys's gaze remained on the stars. "We wait, because soon they will come for the Emperor." And indeed they did. On the same night, every planetary defense network across the capital system went offline at once. Alarms blared through the city of Zirath Prime. Citizens rushed into the streets, watching the sky light up in silent waves of blue. A colossal shadow passed above the atmosphere, a ship so vast it eclipsed the sun. People pointed and screamed. Some fell to their knees. Others ran, though there was nowhere to go. The palace trembled. The Emperor looked up from his throne as the walls shook and the lights dimmed. From the sky, a beam of white light fell upon the palace grounds. Not an attack and a message. A holographic figure appeared above the city. Admiral Reeve. "This is not conquest," his voice echoed through every speaker and every mind. "This is remembrance." The Emperor fell back into his chair, shaking his head. "No," he whispered. "You should not exist." But the image of the human admiral only stared back at him, calm, patient, and unshaken. "And yet," Reeve said, "here we are." The hologram faded. Above the capital, the human flagship drifted quietly in orbit, engines glowing faintly like the heart of a waking god. The people of the Tiraxan Empire looked to the heavens that night and understood one thing at last. The age of the Empire was ending, and the age of humanity had begun. The night skies of Zirath Prime glowed with colors never seen before. Blue lightning danced across the clouds, and every screen in the capital displayed the same silent image. the shadow of a human warship hanging over the planet like a floating mountain. The people could not look away. Some prayed to their gods, others simply stared. For generations, the Taraxon Empire had been unshaken, their rule spreading across the stars. But tonight, every heart felt the weight of something greater, something final. In the Imperial Palace, the great hall shook as explosions echoed far above. The Emperor stood before his council, his face pale and rigid. "Status!" he barked. A trembling officer stammered. "The outer defense grids." "All gone, Majesty." They fell before firing a single shot. "Impossible!" the Emperor roared. "Those shields could withstand a supernova." Admiral Vera stepped forward, his eyes tired. "They could withstand anything, Majesty, except humanity. They have weapons that break the laws we thought absolute." The Emperor slammed his fist on the table. "Then I will use what they cannot." "Activate the solar lance," gasps filled the room. The solar lance was the Empire's last resort, a planet-sized weapon orbiting near the sun, designed to destroy entire systems with one blast. "Majesty," Virus warned, "the lance draws energy from the star itself. If we miscalculate, it could destabilize the entire system." "Then let the galaxy burn," the Emperor shouted. "If humanity wants war, I will show them extinction." Above the palace, human ships moved in silent formation. They did not attack. They waited. Inside his command ship, Admiral Reeve stood before the observation deck. He watched the glowing cities of Zirath beneath him and said quietly, "They are afraid, but fear is how they ruled. Let them feel it one last time." His officers waited for orders. "Do we strike, sir?" Reeve shook his head. "No. Let them reveal what they have hidden." And the Empire did. From deep space, a beam of red light erupted, a blinding spear of energy tearing through the void. The solar lance had fired. The beam streaked toward the human fleet with impossible speed. The galaxy went silent. For a moment it looked like the Empire had done it, an entire human armada about to be consumed by light. But then, something impossible happened. The beam stopped, frozen in mid-space, as if time itself hesitated. On the human flagship, Reeve's voice was calm. "Return to sender." The fleet shimmered. A wave of distortion rippled outward, bending the beam backward. In a single heartbeat, the energy reversed course, racing back toward the solar lance faster than it had come. The weapon tried to shut down. It failed. The beam struck its core and the sky above Zirath turned white. For 10 seconds, daylight covered the entire hemisphere. Then came the thunder. A shockwave spread across the atmosphere. The Imperial Palace trembled. The city's power grids overloaded. Entire towers crumbled as a fiery cloud rose into the upper sky. Millions watched in disbelief. The Emperor staggered backward as the floor beneath him cracked. "What have they done?" he whispered. Vera stared at the burning horizon. "They didn't destroy us, Majesty. You destroyed yourself." The capital fell into chaos. The city lights went dark. Communication failed and entire defense systems collapsed. In orbit, human ships drifted silently, like sentinels watching judgment unfold. They did not fire another shot. They didn't need to. The Empire was already tearing itself apart. Admiral Reeve watched as the burning fragments of the solar lance turned into falling stars. His voice was steady, but his eyes were distant. They built their empire on fear. Now they see what fear truly means. One of his lieutenants hesitated. "Sir, the Emperor's flagship is requesting direct communication." Reeve nodded. "Put him through." The Emperor's face appeared on screen, sweat on his brow, smoke rising behind him. His once commanding voice shook. "Human, you think you can judge me? You destroyed half a world." Reeve's gaze remained cold. "We fired nothing, Emperor. You fired first. We simply reflected what you gave." "You cannot rebuild order this way," the Emperor spat. "Without the Empire, chaos will consume the stars." "Then let the stars remember what peace once meant," Reeve said. The Emperor's eyes burned with rage. "You think you're gods now? You are still flesh and bone." Reeve leaned forward, his voice low and final. "No, we are memory, and memory does not die." The transmission ended. Seconds later, sensors detected a massive explosion in orbit. The Emperor's flagship had self-destructed. When dawn came, the people of Zirath Prime looked up at the sky. The once proud banners of the Empire hung in tatters. The great citadel lay in ruins. Admiral Vera stood among the ashes of the council hall, his armor cracked, his rank forgotten. Around him, soldiers knelt, not in battle but in surrender. He looked to the sky where the human ships hovered silently. "So this is how it ends," he murmured. A transmission broke through the static, Admiral Reeves' voice once more, echoing across every world that had once belonged to the Empire. "To the free peoples of the galaxy, the Taraxan Empire has fallen. The United Terran Fleet will not rule you. We will watch and we will guide. The age of conquest is over. Across 1,000 systems, slaves were freed, colonies cheered, and the sound of rebellion turned into something new. Hope." On the bridge of his flagship, Reeve closed his eyes. "We came not for victory," he whispered. "We came for remembrance." Behind him, one of his officers spoke softly. "Sir, the fleet reports stability. The Empire is no more. Shall we stand down?" Reeve opened his eyes. No, this was only the beginning. The galaxy must learn what humanity truly became. He turned toward the window, where the shattered remains of the Imperial fleet drifted like dust in sunlight. "Send word," he ordered quietly. "The second wave awakens." In the deep dark beyond known space, something stirred, 1,000 massive shapes rising from the void, silent and waiting. Humanity was not done. They were just getting started,